Hi, welcome back to another fun interview I have with a guest expert to talk to us about I think, quite underutilized marketing strategy, which is retaining the people you've already got in your audience. And I thought of nobody better to share about retention, referrals, all that good stuff behind the scenes than my lovely friend Nadine Nethery, who is a retention specialist. So Nadine, do you want to share a little bit about what you do? And then we can start nerding out about retention because it is a big deal and I think we've got lots to say.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me and talking to me about one of my favorite topics, customer retention, customer experience, all the things that are so important in today's AI-driven world. But we'll get to that, I'm sure. So if you haven't come across me before, I'm a customer retention architect. I come originally from a copywriting background, also worked in the corporate world for far too long before getting made redundant, but corporate sales background, corporate comms, marketing. So basically worked across the whole spectrum of the customer journey. So before someone buys from you, then during that transaction, but also then, after someone purchases for the first time and retaining them, making sure they renew, they stick around and they buy from you again. So I support online business owners, so service providers, course creators, membership site owners, basically anyone who operates online and sells things online with remarkable customer experiences and remarkable ways to sell your products, which especially in a world where everything is increasingly looking very similar, is definitely a huge selling point. So I help you identify what that can look like based on your offer suite, based on your audience, and help you connect all the moving pieces so people organically fall in love with what you do.
I love that. So we talked a little bit briefly in the intro about customer journey, but can we spell that out in case people aren't familiar? I know from my web design days, it's the buying purchase, but I have a feeling it's beyond just the purchase part too that you're talking about.
Absolutely. So customer journey, often people misunderstand as this linear process where someone comes across you on Instagram, they click across to your post, they check out your website, they hop across to your resources page, they find a freebie, they join your list, they get a welcome sequence, then they buy, and then it magically, happens. So that might have been the case in the good old days, as my 14-year-old daughter would call it. So before the online space was basically like this big web of unlimited content, unlimited connection points. And so nowadays it's like this big swirling universe of touch points and experiences that people can have with you. And what used to be this linear process now has become like this big, detour. People ultimately experience or should experience your brand in a very unique and personal to them way. So that's where customer journeys, if designed properly, put your audience and hopefully your future customer behind the steering wheel of their customer journey. So that's where I come into the picture. I have a look at how you can help people find the best way for them. So you then present the right offer at the right time with the right messaging, and it just all makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's so helpful to see it from that lens because it really talks about then everything in your business essentially is part of the customer journey.
Absolutely.
It's the marketing, the sales, the customer support, everything is part of that puzzle. So that's really helpful to kind of zoom it out a bit, I guess.
And there's so many opportunities that we don't, as you said, necessarily consider part of that customer journey. So it's even having a chatbot on your website that can help when you're offline. It is a personal welcome message, a personal welcome video when someone purchases from you. So I always like to look at it as anticipating the next step. So giving people what they need to take that next step with you, whether it's signing up to your list, buying from you, hitting reply to that email, giving them what they need to hear before they know they needed to hear it. It's very much in sync with your audience and being one step ahead.
Yeah, I think that is going to tie in nicely with something I really wanted to talk about, which is the relationship part of business. And I think what you're talking about seems like it's almost the getting to know you part of relationship building. But I know you talk a lot about relationships beyond the sale too. So I'd love to hear kind of what this relationship approach to your marketing, to your work looks like from A to Z, if there is a Z at the end. Maybe it just keeps going on forever.
Yes, it keeps going and going and going if you do it right. The relationship part, I feel often feels like a daunting aspect of online business because like a lot of my audience certainly are one one person show where there are limited resources, and as much as AI can take some things off our plate, it's still, you and that's about it. So there is a limit to how much you can scale those personal interactions. So my approach to those relationships and really becoming quite intimate with your email subscribers and your customers is being very intentional with automation. So creating automated relationship building processes that feel totally bespoke. And we can touch on that in a little bit. And then really focusing your efforts on the moments that matter. So those super critical moments where it comes to decision making, making that purchase, and actually saying yes to you and investing in your brand and scaling those up. So I was touching on personal videos and having those like video ask chatbots, for example, on your sales page that obviously take effort going back and forth, but it can just be that personal, totally unexpected and unscalable one-on-one interaction that then convinces people to invest.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of the magic ingredient, the magic balance to find is the unscalable personal touches with those automations. And having been in your membership, having followed along for a long time with you, I think that is kind of the thing you really try and work on, is striking that balance between thoughtful automations and thoughtful human interaction. So how do we balance it? Like, how do we decide what to automate and what to do unscalably?
Yeah, so everything starts with first-hand audience research, I would say. So totally being in sync with your people, knowing what they need to hear, knowing what is keeping them up at night, those false beliefs that are floating around, and taking a closer look at how they interact with your brand at the moment. Then definitely, if you have the luxury of having data to rely on, so for example, evergreen sales sequences or from previous live launches, if you can have a look at those data points where you can see, the emails that were resonating with people, what actually made them buy, what was that piece of content that actually got in the bulk of students or members or clients. And you sort of pair that and build this beautiful automated customer journey that puts people in control. I use trigger links a lot in my email marketing as well. So, there's every email platform uses a different term. Personally, I use drip, but they're all called similarly. So basically they're regular links with superpowers, I like to call them. So where magic things happen on the background, in the background, the subscriber has no idea that it happens, but it allows you to keep track of everything your people do, and then take those signals, so clicks, replies, all those beautiful things that your email platform allows you to see, and use that as an indicator when to present people with an offer, when to send that personal message, when to throw in, for example, a limited time bonus to get people across the line. And ultimately what it comes down to is getting it out there. I feel like that's the most daunting part, right? Like, it's not about perfection because things are shifting all the time. We know society, the economy, like there's so many things that happen and that you can't predict, that it's a matter of just getting it out there, and then monitoring again the data, what works, and tweaking it as you have new insights, new data, and potentially even new social proof that you can turn into a beautiful case study. It's hard to put into words, but it's being in sync with your audience, with your offers, and also your offer ecosystem and how everything fits together.
I think that makes sense. I think the puzzle behind the scenes sounds maybe more complicated than it needs to be, but I do see a big value in having those sort of natural follow-ups taken off your plate, because I think that's the first thing. I mean, it's like pitching. The first thing we avoid is actually reaching out to people because it feels scary, because there's potential for rejection. So I do think there's something about having that first step done for you. Take some of the sting away from having to do it yourself.
Absolutely. And then the beautiful thing is once it's out there and once you've built it, it does the selling for you on autopilot in the background. So you can just focus on, nurturing those relationships and sending your weekly emails, whatever that includes for you. And it doesn't feel like you're constantly having to push that hard sell, because people ultimately tell you when they're ready. The magic happens on the back end. And then, either they buy, which is great, yay, or if they don't buy, they just go back to regular programming until a point in the future when they're sending you the right signals again. So it just takes the pressure off, and it takes your mind off that constant sales cycle. I need to be selling. What am I promoting? People decide themselves basically what promotion and which offer they're receiving.
So with that idea, how do you balance that with the live part of the puzzle? Because even if I'm sure we've got the most automated back end, we still want to promote things live. Like we still might do collaborative events, we still might do launches, we still might create new things. How do we strike the balance between the new and the automated parts?
Yeah, so I basically remove people who are in those evergreen funnels from my regular programming, as I like to call it, so the message doesn't get muddled up. So I have certain days of the week that I email things that are happening live, like, for example, the retention games that are coming up, my virtual summit, or if I have a special event happening in Retention Lab in my membership. Those things go out live as they happen. But if someone happens to be inside one of those evergreen experiences, they are removed from that from that live experience. And then, once they're finished, they're getting re-added. So again, it's about being strategic with your tagging, your segmenting, knowing who's currently looking at something else and who doesn't need to hear about what you're talking about on Tuesday, for example. So basically approaching everything that you communicate to your list systematically and planning ahead, and tagging, again, paying attention to the signals, the data. I know.
I love it. I mean, I think the data piece is another one of those areas that a lot of business owners can shy away from because it sounds like maths, it sounds scary. Do you have any advice for those of us who aren't number inclined while looking at that data?
Yeah, it doesn't actually have to be that daunting. It again comes down to the email platform you use. So I rely heavily on on Drip for my data points, and Drip is awesome for insights, behavior. So there's custom fields. I know this sounds all very technical. It's not actually once you've set it up, but it's just a matter of staying on top of it, I think. So I'm not obsessing over it, but even if you set aside, I don't know, a day once every 3 months to just look at the key trends in your business. So even, how your lifetime value is tracking, your repeat purchase rate, how that's going, your click rate, your open rate, what has resonated with people over the past few months. And then again, planning your next 3 months based on that and looking at what might need tweaking. And again, for example, if you have emails that did really, really well as live content pieces, you can totally incorporate those into your evergreen funnels. So, it's a matter of, again, checking what worked, what didn't work, what you want to do more of, and then incorporating it into what you're doing in the future.
Speaking of what you want to do more of, I think one of the things I really admire about your approach to business is you're very creative, and I think you try a lot of different things. And I think that experimental piece is probably a bigger part of this puzzle than we've touched on before. So I'd love to hear about this experimental way of engaging your people that you have sort of adopted and maybe made even a bit your sort of landmark thing, because it's really what I associate with you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because you're not the only one who goes, oh my God, if like Nadine always has something going on. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been curious and playful, like in life and in business. So yeah, I've always taken things that are done a certain way and looked for ways to do it differently. And particularly today with AI, everything sounding the same. I feel like even the way we sell and market, the way we launch nowadays is all very rinse and repeat. So the consumer, you know, like you and I, we've been in business for a long time. Like I can see through patterns. I know what's coming. I know there's going to be a deadline. I know this is how it's going to work. There's an early bird discount and then the price go. Like it's, you know, we've done it before. We've seen it before. So I totally believe that nowadays, in the future, your point of difference absolutely can be to disrupt the pattern. So if you find a way to do something that your audience expects to happen a certain way, and you can totally flip it on its head, it gets you attention for the right reasons because people are curious and they keep opening your emails and they keep checking out what you're doing because they never know what to expect and they're curious. And it's a little bit like that dopamine hit. Like my middle one, he's got ADHD, so he just loves it. Anything a bit different, anything a bit new, like he's always into it. So that dopamine hit works in business, in life. It keeps people hooked. And if you can incorporate even small touch points that are just that slight bit different that people don't see all the time, it definitely works a treat. And I always look at customer retention like love at first sight, pretty much. As much as people go, retention happens after the sale, I totally believe it happens at that first click. As soon as someone clicks across, you know, your social post, let's say they come across your reel, if you're lucky, right? By chance on Instagram, that's the start of your retention strategy. So every interaction after, basically, it's your job to keep them interested, to send the right signals, to, you know, love at first sight. I don't know, you meet someone, there's that chemistry. So you need to keep that up as a business owner and keep showing up in a way that keeps people on their toes and interested. And yeah, I don't know, somehow that's become one of my signature moves. Like I do challenges differently. I am currently, and you're part of it, I'm running a totally out of the box virtual summit that's different. I have virtual scratchy cards in my business that pop up at the most unexpected times. There's all sorts of things like coffee card style reward systems for people in my membership to take action. So like it's applying things that you know from real life and that work in particularly e-com. I feel e-com is a good starting point for those things, and seeing how they apply to your business and how they apply to your brand. And just being creative. Again, not asking ChatGPT to strategize for you, you know, how you can do things differently. That's not how it works. So actually sitting down, thinking about your brand, your customer, your offer, and how you can totally shake up something that has been done likely a lot of times before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so on board because the way I like to approach collaborations is this warm first introduction, and that's what makes the difference between finding people through collaborations versus through cold traffic is you already borrow a lot of know, like, and trust, but you also, as the collaborator, only have really that one opportunity to make a great first impression and get those people into your world. So I totally agree with this, like putting our best foot forward, trying to keep that feeling like you and on brand. And I think it is a bit this like personality side of marketing or relationship side of marketing that we need to sort of put the signals out there so the right people see us and want to engage. I think that's totally, we were talking before we hit record, how the AI side of things like just really doesn't do well at this work. Like this is stuff we'll always need people for, I think, because we are so unique and we are, as people, I think, really attracted to the uniqueness of others. I want to talk a little more on mic about the AI of it all, because I know, especially when people hear like automations and customer journey and sales, I think a lot of people's minds go to, how can I outsource that to AI? Like, that sounds hard. How do I outsource it? And I think you and I both come from a place of like, this is the stuff that matters the most. We should use our brain calories on this, not the stuff to outsource. But I want to hear more from you, how you're seeing, how you're approaching, how you're seeing clients sort of manage the temptation of AI, and maybe how to counter the sameness of AI with this approach.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because there's the shiny object, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's an expert. Everyone tells you have to do this, otherwise you get left behind. I always start with the overarching question here, like, is it actually benefiting my customer? Because ultimately, if I've saved 20 hours of my time automating something and removing myself from, for example, my membership, yes, that works for me, but ultimately, is it impacting the relationships that I'm building with my members? And yes, if it does, well, ultimately they're going to cancel because they didn't sign up to talk to an AI bot. They actually signed up to get my thoughts and, my creativity on how the strategies that I'm sharing in the membership can work specifically for their business. So yeah, it's really being discerning with the cost of outsourcing and the benefit of outsourcing and how it's impacting your customer relationships, because ultimately your point of difference is going to be that that connection piece and that relationship with your customer, because they can get a lot of the same in other places. It's that your unique point of view, your unique opinions and unique take on things that's going to keep people in your universe. So yeah, I don't have the perfect answer. I'm still looking, but I certainly know. I know, right? Who knows what's going to happen? But I just know I'm very cautious with jumping the gun and integrating things into all my things. So I have members, for example, my membership, they love automating things and adding bots to their membership to dissect their framework, which is totally okay. If it works for them, that works a treat. But I also, particularly on my podcast, have talked to guests recently who are making really conscious decisions around removing AI altogether from their programs, for example. So it's a very interesting time we're operating in. So I don't know where we're going to end up, but I know I can certainly feel that there is sort of a drift happening. Like a lot of people are going all in, super excited by it, while others are definitely cautious and just a bit more hesitant. And I'm probably more in that hesitant section of society.
As am I. And I think it does come down to also looking at our own buying behaviors and our own way of interacting with the world. And it's quite, I think, logical that those of us that maybe prioritize connection and relationship in the things we buy, even when it's like shoes and food, I still value so much those experiences over and above maybe convenience. And I think there is always going to be that divide. Sometimes we just need things quickly, and that's okay. But I do think, particularly when we're thinking about the businesses of people who watch this sort of running, we're not really convenience businesses. Ultimately, we're selling premium services. We're selling thought leadership or IP. We're selling shortcuts sometimes, but it's not shortcuts that I think people will happily just take whatever. I think ultimately these types of businesses are always going to need that trust that comes from relationship at some point or another. I think, at least I hope, is what's going to keep this industry going, because at one point it's all the same. Like, there's no point in buying it if you can get it for free.
Absolutely. But one interesting perspective here as well, again, coming from a copywriting background, which obviously copywriting AI, there's quite a bit of impact on copywriting, but Canva's head office is in Sydney. So I'm sort of keeping on top of what's going on. They've actually just put out an ad for an in-house human copywriter for their team. So if Canva still trusts in human capacity to write landing pages and, websites for them. I still have hope in what's ahead for us. But yeah, definitely interesting.
It is. Well, speaking of interesting, let's talk about your retention games, because you're cooking up something really fun. And as of this video going live, we're still very much in the early sign-up time. So tell us all about your summit, or not so summity thing that you're doing. And I'm very proud to be part of.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said yes and are one of the contestants in the retention game. So the retention games are happening from the 12th to the 15th of September. 4 days. Of May. May. Oh my God. Yeah, 12th to 15th of May. Where am I? My God. Across 4 days and 3 rounds. So I'm actually turning, as I mentioned before, the virtual summit concept on its head. And I am directly involving the attendees, the spectators, in the outcome of the game. So there are 20 contestants, including Michelle, who are going to compete for the title of Retention Games Champion. So the spectators, hopefully you, if you're watching, can vote for their favorite strategy in every round. So every competitor puts forward a behind-the-scenes look at one of their proven and successful customer retention strategies. Not, lengthy slides. We're talking, thought process, setup, results. So actionable things that you can swipe for your business. So you get to vote. You get to also win prizes along the way, potentially, because every vote equals 1 entry into the draw. And then after the first 2 days, I'm going to take the contestants with the most votes, the top 10, into the semi-final, at which point there's another voting round. You can vote for your top 3 favorites, who are then competing in the grand final to, hopefully take out the win. The good thing is, as I said, there's something in it for everyone, because I always feel virtual summits, I know you've been part of so many. Obviously, the work in organizing is with the host, like the bulk of it. But I definitely wanted to make it worth every contestant's while as well. So there's prizes that the contestants also can win. So if you make the top 10, there's something on the other side of that. Top 3, the winner gets a sponsorship slot on my podcast for a month, for example. So it's really incentivized for the contestants to put forward their best strategy. And as I mentioned, like the spectators, you're directly involved, and I want you to vote. I want you to leave love notes for the contestants as well. So super interactive. There's also live crosses from the games arena, which is coming from me. So live updates. You can connect with others in the community. There's so many cool things. I'm so excited, and hopefully it just builds a bit more involvement when it comes to participants and contestants, and makes it feel more interactive than that usual sit there, consume, and never do anything with it concept.
It's really fun. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, everyone watching should come and vote for me and help me win. But otherwise, I'm really excited. Yeah. Yes, please come vote for me. I'm really excited to compete. I'm not a competitive person by nature, but I think the way you've built this is so fun, and it makes you want to get involved. So kudos to you, even before we've gone through it. It's been really fun thus far. Yeah. Tell us where we can learn more about you. I will leave a link to sign up for the games, but tell us more about you, your work, and where people can go. I know you have a fantastic podcast. I particularly want you to call out, because it is a really good listen every week.
Thank you. Probably the podcast is the best starting point. It's weekly bite-sized episodes, literally bite-sized, usually like around 15 minutes max. It's called What Would They Do? And it's all about customer experience. The episodes always start with a listener question or a question from a guest expert from a previous episode, and super actionable tips around customer journey, customer retention, so real problems that are coming up in the online business space today. So make sure you subscribe, follow, listen in all the places. It's also on YouTube. So if you track me down on YouTube. I upload every episode there if that's where you like to hang out. I'm also on Instagram at Can Do Content. And yeah, I would love you to drop me a DM and let me know if you're coming to the games, because I can reserve you a front row seat if you like.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Nadine, for coming on, for chatting with us. And I'm looking forward to the games, I hope, as much as everyone watching.
I'm so excited. Thanks so much for having me, Michelle. Can't wait.
Thanks so much. And I'll see everyone watching next week for another video. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it's going to be fun. And we're going to talk about marketing without social media. Bye.